Yay. Thank you.
You are streaming to Facebook.
Anything else, leave these notes?
So you can move that, yeah, we got them, I guess, never mind.
Perfect. Need my agenda.
I think we're ready.
I think we're ready to call to order.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi, Molly.
Sure.
Jennifer's mute. Jen, can you hear us?
I can't hear Jen.
Yes, sorry. I
Yeah, I
unmuted
just
myself.
unmuted all of us.
Hello.
I think we're unmuted now. Well, being this is our first virtual meeting, please bear with us if we try to navigate through this. What I would like to do first is introduce the newer alders to our staff. And we did a dry run with Santiago, so how about we start with Santiago again? This is Commissioner Rooney, Assistant Commissioner Tom Eade, and
Hello, hello.
our city engineer is Aria Moulter. Did I say that right?
Yes.
And the next, Mary. Can
Hi.
you hear me?
Hey, Mary.
Yes.
I think you know Mr. Rooney, right? John Rooney? And then Commissioner Tom Eade.
Yes.
And our interim city engineer, which is Aria Moulter. And
Hi.
Alderman Perez
Yeah.
and Alderman Levy, I think you know everyone.
Yes.
Okay, well, this being the hour of 5:30, I would like to call the Public Works and Service Committee to order. And Mr. Eden, may we have a roll call, please?
Alder Jones,
Present.
Alder Lamb,
Here.
Alder Levy,
Present.
Alder Santiago,
Present.
and Alder Perez.
Present.
We're all present.
Thank you. Next, we will have the approval of the minutes for the February 25th, 2020 Public Works and Service Committee. I would like to entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and approved to approve the minutes of January 25th. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we will start with the agenda item 0183-20.
Which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Eric Rose, signed effective, requesting permission to place 3 signs over city right-of-way at the Gold Medal Lofts located at 1701 Packard Avenue.
Is there any discussion on the item?
I was on the wrong. Trying to get my agenda up here. Something else. Okay, here it is.
I can introduce the item.
Commissioner Rooney, would you introduce the item, please?
Sure. So what we have before the committee tonight is a request to place 3 signs over city right-of-way located at Gold Medal Lofts on Packard Avenue at 17th Street. In your packet that you received, there was a link that shows where these signs are being placed and what these signs look like. Some of the existing committee members have approved these types of requests in the past. For the new committee members, what you are approving tonight for this particular item is just permission for this group to project a sign over the public right-of-way. It's a revocable permit. If we have to order them to remove the sign so we can do work in the public right-of-way, they have to reply and to take care of that in a certain number of days. There is a fee associated with that. There are conditions that are also involved with revocable permits. They hold the city harmless in case that sign falls or to injure someone else. They have to carry liability insurance, things of that nature. We don't, in this committee, approve the content of the sign. That actually is done by the PhD committee, Planning, Heritage, and Design. They approve content. We just simply approve giving them a revocable permit. And staff recommends the approval of the revocable permits. With that, I can try to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Any committee members have any questions?
Like to move to approve?
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve item 183-20. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next is item 0226-20.
which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting change order number 1 on contract 2019-0047, Cesar Chavez Front Entry, Ross Construction and Engineering Contractor. This was a Parks Department project at the Chavez Center. Change orders, just to explain, during a project, there are things that can come up during construction that weren't anticipated when it went out to bid. So the change order modifies items in the contract. I can get Parks online if there are specific questions on it, but what this entailed, they had to redo the front entry to make it ADA accessible into the building. They added another window. They redid the offices inside for the management of the building, and they needed another window to see into the area. They put ventilation on the roof, and they had to do some metal work on the roof to keep the roof in positive condition. And they called for a new heater in there, but they didn't have the electric feed going to it. So the last part of the change order was getting the electric to feed their heating unit. So again, this change order is in the amount of $12,287, and Parks had the funding to cover it.
Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, Alderman Levy, have you had a chance to take a look at it?
I have not, but I'm looking forward to seeing the final results. Have you had a chance to see it, Alderman Perez? I need to get over there.
Any questions for the staff? Oliver Perez, did you say something?
Moved. You made a motion, Perez? Is that what I heard?
He's moving.
Oh, he's moving.
I think he's playing basketball.
At the Chavez Center.
Could be.
Well, I would entertain a motion from
Move to approve.
someone.
I'll second.
It's been moved and approved for item 0226-20. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Motion carries. Our next item is 0264-20.
Which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting change order number 1 on contract 2019-004, Lakeview Park Green Alley, Lalonde Contractors Contractor.
Madam Chairman, this change order is in the amount of $15,563.68. It's a rectifying change order. As Tom Eeg explained earlier, not only are change orders used in contracts to modify the contract to add items that were unforeseen during the project, but it is also used to increase line items that were already approved in the contract and decrease them. And that's generally what a rectifying change order is. So we might have, had in the bids that we're going to put in, 1,000 square yards of concrete, but it actually turned out to be 1,100 square yards. We're going to put in 500 feet of pipe. We actually put in 480. So we rectify all those final items, and that either increases or decreases the final contract amount. This is a rectifying change order, again, in the amount of $15,563.68. The original contract was approved in July of 2019 in the amount of $164,212.10. This change order will bring the final payment to the amount of $179,775.78. And we do have funding available for these items. This was a green alley that was built on Parks Department properties just south of Lakeview Park. It turned out to be a very successful project, and we did have about $40,000 in grant funding that we received from the Department of Natural Resources as well. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them at this time.
Any questions from the committee? Alder Perez, are you back with us? Do you have any questions on item 0264-20?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Then I would entertain a motion.
Oh, Madam Chair, I have my hand raised. Did you not see that? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I
just
did
have a
not.
quick
My
question.
apologies.
I'm still learning the
Alder
ropes here,
Levy?
so I apologize. Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Thank you. Madam Chair, may I ask the commissioner a question regarding this alley?
Yes.
Okay,
Certainly.
thank you. Commissioner, I'm wondering if there are other alleys that will be done with this similar plan. Because I know last year you had talked about this being kind of like a pilot project of sorts to see how it would be done and the effectiveness of it. And so I'm curious if there are other projects in the works for other similar alleys or streets to be done like this.
So this was some great questions. So a couple things is, yes, this was a pilot project. This is the first green alley in the city of Racine. We had the benefit of doing it on city-owned land, so we'd have to worry about going through the assessment process for abutting property owners. It looks just like an alley, but it's really a park road. So now that we've engineered it, we've constructed it, we've learned a lot of lessons. Now we want to learn some performance lessons on it as well, maintenance lessons. This was funded through an urban non-point source grant through DNR. We had a broader discussion about this in January about alleys in general, and looking at how we can move forward with doing public hearings, doing assessments, how to augment funding with things such as grant funds and other mechanisms by which we could make perhaps alley paving, perhaps a little more affordable to abutting property owners. We had a good conversation. We had city administrator, finance director, myself, the mayor in that meeting, and then we've had a series of issues that have come up obviously over the last couple months, with the malware attack that we had on the computers and now the pandemic. So we are planning to resurrect those discussions, and the type of grant funding will be part of that, and trying to put forward a plan for next year and beyond on different ways to go about alley funding for property owners. So we are going to be working on it. We started it. We have to restart it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any staff members have any further questions? If not, I would like to entertain a motion, please.
Make
I
a
would
motion
like
to
to-
approve.
Oh, go ahead. I'll second.
It has been motion and second that item 0264-20 be approved. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have item 0234-20.
Which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting bid results for contract 2020-0005, 2020 city resurfacing, South Side.
Madam Chairman, committee members, on Thursday, April 23rd, the Department of Public Works received bids for the subject contract. We received 2 bids. The lowest responsible bidder was Payne and Dolan, submitting a bid price in the amount of $1,119,916.18. The Public Works project was estimated at $1.25 million. Staff is recommending the contract be awarded to Payne and Dolan at their bid price, they being the lowest responsible bidder. And there are funding accounts available in the 2020 CIP to pay for this project.
Alder Land, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, excuse me, I'm new to the committee, so I'm just wondering where in the south side this is gonna be, because I don't see it on, or is this normal? You just don't say where it is, or?
That's a good question. We have, we generally will let, anywhere from 1 to 2 types of resurfacing contracts a year. And we'll do that with concrete paving as well. This is resurfacing, so this is asphalt or bituminous concrete. This one we are having a south side contract for. We have some paving on the south side of town that this one will cover. So this has some local streets. I think there is Linderman is on this, Russet Street is on this. The biggest part of this contract is the resurfacing of Lathrop Avenue, which goes from Highway 11 Grand Avenue all the way up to about 19th Street where the old We Energies right-of-ways. That's the lion's share of this. And currently utilities are in there now.
Yeah, I know that.
Department, We Energies, they're upgrading their facilities. And then when that's all done, we will come in and resurface this entire roadway. I believe, is there one more, or are those the 3 on that?
Off the top of my head, I think that's it.
I can get a list that I can email to the committee members, so you have the list of all the streets covered, but I know for sure Linderman, Russet, and Lathrop Avenue, and there may be one more on there, but.
Thank you.
Alder Levy, you have your hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I forgot to put it down.
Any further questions from committee? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Move
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, Alder Levy, was that your motion?
Yes, I can take that. Move to approve item
Alder Perez, second.
0234-20.
Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposes? Motion carries. The next item is 0235-20.
Which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting bid results on contract 2020-0026, sanitary sewer and storm sewer CCTV inspection.
Madam Chair, committee members, we received 4 bids on Thursday, April 23rd for this work. The lowest responsible bidder was Green Bay Pipe and TV LLC out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, with their bid price of $175,021.19. The Public Works project was estimated at $190,000, recommending the award of this contract to Green Bay Pipe and TV. The project is funded out of both the sanitary sewer maintenance fund, which is a special revenue fund, and part of it is funded out of the stormwater utility, which is an enterprise fund. And for the new committee members, what CCTV is essentially, we are hiring a contractor to send a closed circuit camera through our sewer lines. They get them cleaned out, they send the camera down there, and then we assess the condition of the pipe based on the operator running the camera. They code various defects they see in the pipe. So we want to keep out inflow and infiltration from, say, stormwater into our sanitary sewer system. We're looking for voids, defects, and trying to determine what is the best use of our ratepayers' funds for rehabilitation. So with this data, we can tell whether we can simply just cut out a small section of that pipe to put it in a good state of repair. We may find out from this data we need to replace that entire section. We may find out that we can actually rehab this pipe without even digging up the ground. We can send cured in place liners. So this gives us all the information we need to know to assess the type of rehabilitation that needs to be done, and then also come up with cost estimates for those types of rehab. So again, our recommendation would be to award Green Bay Pipe and TV at their bid of $175,021.19.
Thank you, Mr. Rooney. Commissioner Rooney.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is item 0236-20.
This is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting bid results and contract 2020-0029, roof replacement at the central heating plant. Just for everybody's knowledge, I address more of the buildings outside of the roadway projects, which Mr. Rooney Molitor handle essentially. So the central heating plant is outside City Hall, where we just took down the chimney. We had it in the budget to replace that roof. 3 bids were received on it, with Carlson Racine Roofing being the low bidder at $47,190. And the estimated price was $50,000, so came in below the estimate.
Questions from committee?
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve. It has been moved and a motion and second, to approve item 236-20. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, the motion passes. Next, we have item 0237-20,
Which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting bid results for contract 2020-0027, sanitary sewer and storm sewer and lateral CIPP lining.
Madam Chair, committee members, again, we received bids this time on Thursday, April 30th, for CIPP lining that is cured in place pipe. And we received 2 bids. The lowest bidder was from Musson Brothers in the amount of $622,575.29. The project was estimated at $775,000. We're recommending award to Musson Brothers. The majority of the lining for this year's lining project is with our sanitary sewer system. So about $617,000 plus of this contract will be funded out of the sanitary sewer maintenance fund. And we have a small amount of storm sewer lining that needs to be done, and about $5,000 plus will be coming out of that fund. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
any questions from the committee?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 0236-20. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is item 0237-20.
Which is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of Public Works, submitting final payments for 6 projects. And just to explain a little better, as you noted tonight, you're awarding contracts as we receive bids. This is the first step in contracts. Change orders, if there are any change orders, they come through this committee. And then at the end, when the project's done, again, comes through this committee to approve final payment. So the first project was contract 2019-0047, Cesar Chavez front entry, the one we just approved the change order on tonight. And again, the total contract amount is $225,587. The second project is contract 2019-004, the Lakeview Park Green Alley. Again, we just had the change order on that one, and final payments in the amount of $179,775.78. Project 3 is contract 2017-0032, professional services, electrical design for the Main Street movable bridge. Final payment in this amount, in this project is $288,000.61. And just to explain, this is the Main Street lift bridge. These costs are reimbursed by the state of Wisconsin, that being a state highway, and lift bridges are requirements covered by the state. So again, this will be reimbursed by the state. Contract 4 is 2019-007, professional services for the 2019 SW support with AECom.
Madam Chairman, committee members, this is for the stormwater utility. This is on-call support that's provided to us by our stormwater utility consultant. And this is for work we need and assistance with billing, design questions, budgeting, ordinance changes, review of plans by developers to make sure that they're doing their stormwater management in accordance with Chapter 98 of the Municipal Code. And final payment in the amount for this contract is $69,803.03, and this is funded out of the stormwater utility.
Number 5 is contract 2018-0032, professional services, 2018 IDDE services.
Again, Madam Chairman, committee members, this is for the stormwater utility. It is funded out of that enterprise fund. What IDDE is illicit discharge detection and elimination. So what AECom does is work with our health department, and they do all the screening at all of our outfalls. So all the stormwater effluent that discharges into waters in the state, such as Lake Michigan or wherever we sample, we try to make sure there are no contaminants in there. If we find any, we do a little tracing of that and try to go upstream and see where the source is, try to make sure that we can separate any cross connections that may exist between sanitary and storm that may be legacy issues from 100+ years of putting sewers in the ground. It could simply be that it's just simply illicit discharge work. Maybe it could be a business or commercial type property illegally dumping something, and we want to find that. We want to put an end to that. It's a requirement that we do IDDE as part of our stormwater permit issued to the city by the State of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, and we also have to report out any illicit discharges we have as part of our annual report to the Wisconsin DNR. The final amount is $1,900,757.90.
And if, before I move on to the last one, just to explain, there's two types of contracts. These last two that John explained were professional services, and as he discussed, that's more of design to look at areas, to determine issues, review things associated with them, where the other projects are actual construction projects. Like the last one is contract 2020-0022, DPW Central Heating Plant chimney demolition. Again, what we talked about was the chimney that just got taken down behind City Hall. That was this project. Total contract amount was $77,777. So So again, those are the 6 final payments that we're seeking approval on.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Rooney and Mr. Commissioner East. Does staff have any questions at this time? Any questions at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved, motion and second to approve item 227-20. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is 0255-20.
Is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of the Assistant Commissioner of Public Works Operations, requesting to enter into a 2-year free service agreement with Johnson Controls Incorporated and Armstrong Technologies for an improved air handling monitoring service at Memorial Hall. Just to explain, Johnson Controls Metasys system is what the city of Racine uses on all our buildings, or the majority of them, to monitor our temperatures, the airflow. Again, something like Festival Hall, we can arrange for when it needs heating and cooling if there's an event there. And again, it closes it down when it's no longer needed. There's other options. There's some lights, like in the hallways, that can be turned off by the Johnson Control system after hours. But in this scenario at Memorial Hall, we just replaced a chiller down there last year, and part of it involved the Armstrong Technology devices. And what they're trying to do is merge with Johnson Controls and offer more services on what they provide. For instance, at Memorial Hall, we can turn the air conditioner on when needed. Then it alerts us if something fails on it. What Armstrong is trying to incorporate is it can start warning you that one of your devices that they provided is showing some wear on it, that it's operating at 50% of where it should be. So it gives you a heads up that you're running into a problem, that you can get it addressed more promptly. Or if it does fail, it's going to tell you what failed. Where under Metasys itself, it just tells you it's down and you have to go down and investigate to determine what's going on. So again, we're partnering with them so that they can merge with Johnson Controls and come up with a better system. And again, there's no charge for this 2-year period while they do this. And at that point, we can opt to stay with them, or we just terminate it at the end of the 2-year period. So we're just asking permission to enter into this agreement.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
Just to add on to what Tom's saying, so I think this provides a good opportunity. So this is kind of gets into that smart city technology. This is stuff that's going to put us kind of on that leading edge. I think Memorial Hall, the way we can monitor that facility along with the Metasys system, Johnson Controls, and along with Armstrong Technologies, this is going to be a pilot project. I think that we're going to wind up in a lot of literature about this project, and they'll be able to report out on the success of that. And I think that's good. That's good information for the city of Racine to have out there to other communities that we are trying to lead in this type of smart city technology. It's a free opportunity. It doesn't cost us anything. We can only stand to be the beneficiary of this. And I think it's really, it's a good opportunity, and it's good press for a city that wants to be on the leading edge of smart city technology, especially a smaller city like Racine here. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions from staff, committees?
Move
If
to
not, I
approve.
will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is 256-20.
This is a communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting an addendum to Resolution 0203-20 for contract 2020-0021, City Hall parking lot reconstruction and tunnel waterproofing. To explain this in detail, when this was bid out, there's a base bid and alternate bids. And essentially, you put alternate bids in if you don't know if you have the funding to cover something or don't know if the work has to be done. You put that in there and you accept them or not accept them, depending on if you got the funding to cover it or if it's something that doesn't need to be done. In this instance, when we went to award it, it was supposed to be with the base bid and alternate bid number one. Alternate bid number one, better explain it, the central heating plant where we just took down the chimney has 2 boiler systems in it. Those 2 boilers heat City Hall and the safety building across the street. And there's tunnels going under Washington Avenue to go there, and there's a tunnel under the parking lot coming into City Hall. It's got a lot of water leaks in it. So when it's time to do the parking lot, it's time to address the water leaking into this tunnel as well. That's what alternate bid number one was in the amount of $222,000. That part was estimated to be $440,000, so that came in very low compared to what the design was for it. So again, that was missed when this got awarded, so we're asking to amend that to include alternate bid number one for a total contract amount of $651,332.
Thank you, Mr. East. Any questions from staff? Alderman Redd.
Yeah, Tommy, you said the tunnels, and I read that too. Are those tunnels that provide for cars, for people, for the transportation of the air that goes back and forth? What kind of tunnels are those?
It's actually, no, it's about 6 foot tall, 5 foot wide, and it's basically the steam pipes coming in from the boiler system. Also, our air conditioners down in the lower parking lot area. And again, that cooling system has to come up through it. And also, the power to this building is actually fed out of the safety building. The main feed goes in the safety building across the street, then it comes through the tunnel to feed City Hall. So
What kind of...
it's walkable, that we can walk through it. But again, it has all the piping going through it. And if we ever lost that tunnel, it could take out those steam pipes and such feeding this building.
A follow-up question to that is that, speaking of safety for the building, could that be one of the areas that is a weakness in our security system? Could that right now injure us in any way if it were to be violated or to be tampered with?
Boy, no, I don't see.
The only ways to access the tunnel are from the central heating plant, or you have to be within City Hall.
Yes.
You can't enter it from any exterior point outside of those 2 buildings.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's locked where you're coming up to the building through the tunnel. That you'd still have to get through those doors in some fashion. So
there is some
and even the access point.
That.
Yeah, even the access point from in City Hall to the tunnel isn't accessible to the public that comes in when this building is open, but it's secured, only for authorized personnel.
Thank you.
yes.
Any additional questions from committee members? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Gotta be quicker, Jen.
So, who's second?
Me, Mary.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. It has been motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And opposed? Motion passes. Next item is 262-20.
Communication sponsored by Alderman Jones on behalf of the Commissioner of Public Works, submitting an agreement with Gilbane Building Company and Miller Transport for permission to deliver an oversized, overweight load on local city streets to SC Johnson campus located at 1425 Howell Street.
Madam Chair, committee members, this item kind of took us by surprise in the last couple of weeks. So SCJ, if you've been down in that area, notice they're doing a pretty extensive campus expansion and a lot of really interesting green infrastructure things on their campus as well. They do have access off of State Trunk Highway 32 to their campus opposite 15th Street to the west. That is an entrance there. However, because of the way they were staging their project and the staging of the delivery of this crane, the counterweights that have to go and be delivered to the site as well to help support the crane, and then the actual loads that they have to pick with this crane and place on the construction site, they need a different access point. That access point is going to be off of their House Street entrance, which is on 16th Street. There's quite a few staging issues that involve our Wisconsin DOT project. As you know, we're rebuilding 16th Street under a three-party agreement with the state of Wisconsin, the Department of Transportation, from Racine Street, State Trunk Highway 32, down to Main Street. This is the only way they can get that crane in there is to come down House Street. So Gilbane Building Company is working with Miller Transport to get these oversized, overweight loads into their construction site. And what they are proposing to do is to bring these deliveries off of State Trunk Highway 32. They will get permitted from the state to bring these loads in on the State Trunk Highway. Then when they leave the connecting highways or the heavy traffic routes in the city of Racine, they do need to get permission from the city to run these loads down local roads. So what they're proposing is bringing it down to Coven Avenue and then making a turn north on Howe and running it up 3 residential blocks on Howe Street. The Wisconsin DOT's contractor is going to make sure that intersection at 16th and Howe is going to be in such condition where they can continue to bring that load in across their work zone, deliver it to their site. When they get the crane in, then they'll start bringing the counterweights in. When they get the crane set up, then they will bring the loads in, the oversized loads for the crane to do the picking and placing of those loads. And then they will be exiting the site in the exact same way. They'll exit back south on House Street, back onto Coven, back onto Racine Street, which is State Trunk Highway 32, and go back to where it is that they came from. There are conditions that we need to put on Gilbane and Miller Transport to protect the city's interest as it relates to those public rights-of-way. The Coven is a collector street, and House Street is a local street. So for the new committee members, we kind of treat our different road networks by functional class. So our highest serving roadways are the highways, connecting highways, your 38, your 32, your 20, 11. And then we have our arterials, and then we have our collectors, and then we have our local streets, which are primarily residential streets. So we wanted to put some stipulations on Gilbane and Miller Transport to make sure that we have some inspection of our roadways, to do some pre and post inspections before and after these deliveries are made. We want them to deliver a refundable bond in the amount of $25,000 to the city of Racine. So after the post-inspection is done, we can review that, determine if there are any defects on those roadways that need to be repaired by Miller Transport and Gilbane. The bond will ensure that they'll do the work. If there's any damage, they will repair it. And this could include anything. This could include them damaging curb and gutter. Perhaps a tree gets, compromised, a limb gets taken off. I think they've vetted all this stuff. It could be a traffic sign. It could be a light pole. We want to make sure that they are going to be there to take care of any problems that they have caused by delivering this load. They're going to provide us a video inspection log of the entire route. That they're going to be paying for our pavement management consultant to be there during the delivery of the crane, the counterweight, and the loads to inspect these pavements as the loads are moving through. Generally, the loads are dispersed on quite a few axles, so we do feel that there is a lesser possibility that we do get damage to our pavements. We want to make sure that's done in full view of our consultant. We want to make sure that any pavement that they need to replace gets done in accordance with our street restoration specifications on file in the city engineer's office. We're going to only allow them to queue deliveries in certain areas. We're going to allow them to queue between 17th and DeKalb because we plan on resurfacing that section in the 2021 budget. So if they want to queue their loads there, we feel that's okay because we're going to be in there anyway to do that. They'll do the improvements on that street next year. They're going to be responsible for posting no parking. They're going to be responsible for contacting PD if they have to get vehicles towed because they're going to need vehicles off the road. These are wide loads that have large turning radiuses. They're going to need to do all the notification to the property owner 72 hours in advance. And security, other permits that they need so far as like street closing permits, setting up detours, having flaggers out there and all these items. So these are the restrictions that we're going to put on them. What we're asking you to is to approve the delivery of these oversized, overweight loads in accordance with these stipulations. City attorney will put this into an agreement form by which they will have to sign off on. They will deliver the bond that'll be held either by the attorney's office or finance or however that's done, and then it will be returned after everything has been inspected and everything has been brought back to current state of condition that is in today before these loads are delivered. If you have any questions on this, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooney. Alder Perez.
Yeah, Commissioner Rooney, you said that it was their plan for the route that they're going to take in and out. Do you see a better plan or is their plan acceptable?
Well, there were two much better plans, and what we're left with is the only viable option left. The best plan would have been perhaps they would have staged their project differently, and they could have just brought their own loads in off of Racine Street, right into their site entrance, which is just opposite, like I said, 15th Street on the west side. They really don't need to go through this exercise because that's a connecting highway and it is permitted for oversized, overweight loads. The next best option for them would have been to bring their loads in on 16th Street off of Racine Street or Highway 32, but it is under construction with AW Oaks. They were the lowest responsible bidder for WISDOT, so they kind of took that option off the table because of where they're at in the project right now. They're already removing pavements, and this is something that was just brought to our attention about 2 weeks ago, and they have a job to do. They have a job to do to the city, for the city of Racine. They have a job to do for the state of Wisconsin, and we simply can't just stop the project, leave the pavements, and then expect the state contractor to begin this project in another month. And then we get behind and our project doesn't get finished, this fall like we would expect it to be. So this leaves us with the only viable option left, which isn't a great option, but we feel these stipulations are going to cover the city's and the taxpayers' interest in them using the Coven and House Street.
Thank you.
Alder Levy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, I'm wondering, are you anticipating a good amount of damage because of a crane and heavy loads like that coming through, or is everything just covered and you don't anticipate much issue?
Well, I think we've looked at this segmentally. The Coven is built of a thicker type Portland cement concrete section because it is it's functionally classified as collector. However, it's non-doweled pavement. So like when you see us rebuild Highway 11 this summer, you'll see the dowel bars that go in between each joint, so you don't have faulting of slabs because heavy loads are imparted on that pavement and it's what keeps them together. So we don't necessarily dowel a pavement like the Coven. Doesn't mean we're going to necessarily have faulting, we're gonna have to hopefully rely on a better, a sub base to carry that pavement load so it doesn't, if it does, we have them remove it, we'll have them tie that pavement back together. So that is a concern on DeKalb, is possibly faulting of the slabs. We feel like the section itself won't crack or crumble based on load. DeKalb, now there are 3 blocks there, DeKalb to 18th, 18th to 17th, 17th to 16th. From DeKalb to 17th Street, it is existing concrete pavement. It's been there a long time. Pavement management went back, it was placed about 100 years ago. And it's had an asphalt overlay on it. It's been milled off, it's been replaced. So it's gone through a couple of maintenance cycles already. We are planning on doing that next year. We already had planned to do that next year. So we know that that surface layer of asphalt over that concrete is in poor condition already. If we get some type of damage to that surface course, if it's something that we want them to repair for safety reasons, we're going to make them do it. It's already got damage. That's why it's programmed for next year. So if it's nothing that we're overly concerned about, that's fine. That's why we picked those 2 blocks for them to queue their loads on, because moving loads is part of a whole different load as opposed to static loads. So a load that's moving, this is the physics of statics and engineering mechanics. So if they have to queue loads, that's what we're going to allow them to queue in that area. And if it does even impart some cracking on the concrete below, we don't think that's a problem either, because when we have a project like Howe Street from 17th to DeKalb, we would mill the asphalt off, and we generally bring essentially our hammers in, and we crack, and then we seat that pavement. So we'll actually force that pavement to crack more, so we don't get reflective cracking, and then we'll actually roll that cracked pavement to make sure it's seated so it doesn't settle anymore, and then we do the asphalt overlay. So we're essentially trying to take out that reflective cracking, that settlement cracking, by cracking it and seating it. These loads are simply going to do some cracking and seating for us, that we were going to do anyway. Biggest concern is the last block. It's 17th to 16th. That was a street that was just paved 4 years ago. Brand new roadway. It was paid for by assessment. Property owners are still paying on that. Probably have a couple more, 6, 7 more years of payments left on it. It's got a perfect pavement condition index. It's Portland cement concrete pavement. It has a 7-inch thickness. Again, undowed, not built as thick as DeKalb. That's the one we're going to simply say you have to roll your load across it. We're hoping that we don't have a lot of damage there. Again, we're relying on the sub base to hold that pavement structure up when it gets that load imparted on it. We're building roads a lot better today than I think they were building 40, 60, 80 years ago. We do a lot more work when we build the roads on bases. We cut out a lot of poor compressible organic materials up. We really build them on very good sub bases. But if we have damage there, they're going to remove it and they're going to replace it, and we're going to hold a bond on them, and they won't get their money back until they make good on that. I think SCJ is a good corporate citizen. They have hired only the best when it comes to contractors. Gilbane's very reputable, doing a lot of Foxconn work. They do work all over southeast Wisconsin. And Miller Transport's working for Gilbane with the bringing of the oversized overweight loads. And so I think we are getting into agreement with reputable people, and I think they're going to make good on whatever they do. We want them to be a good corporate citizen, and they want to be a good corporate neighbor to those people that live around that area, I believe. So I think we have the bases covered here. We hope we do, and that's why city attorney's going to put pen to paper here and put this agreement in place so we have some assurance.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions?
I would like to ask, well, obviously, the payload that's being through with the crane is probably going to exceed the payload that was intended for the small streets. is there any concern for any water mains or sewer lines that may be running under those streets that may experience some stress? And would they be covering that if something were to happen with that?
Good question, fair question. The utilities generally are constructed to be at a certain depth where the loads that are imparted on pavements, then get transferred to base material, that then get transferred to the sub-base material. And usually the utilities are placed to get away from that load stress. So I don't see that as a problem. And furthermore, we even require some utilities to be buried at a greater depth in this part of the country because of frost reasons. So, but generally there are minimum utility depths, so those loads don't get imparted on those utilities, and we're even further below that because of frost reasons. So I don't see that as an issue. I guess if something comes up and we can attribute it to this activity, we'll investigate it and see where it takes us. But I don't see that as a big concern.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Alder Perez?
Yeah, Commissioner, considering Alderman Santiago's question, should that just be another line added to the contract that the city attorney puts together?
I think Alder Perez, Alder Santiago, I think it's covered generically under item A, and the city attorney is here. It says Miller Transport be responsible for any damage and repairs of roadway pavements and any other associated damages within the public right-of-way. If we wanted to add utilities in there, I mean, these utilities exist in the public right-of-way, we could add that.
Yeah, we can add that.
Sure.
It's probably sufficient the way it is, so we can add.
Yeah, we could add that in there under A, because other associated damages within the public right-of-way. We can include utilities in there.
Any further questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Motion carries. Our next item is 0270-20,
which is a communication from Alder Jones requesting that the Public Works and Service Committee determine the day of the week and the hour at which it will meet for the next year. Essentially, the commission needs to determine their annual time period, the date and day of the week and time that they're going to host their meetings. So
I just wanted to say, currently, we have Tuesdays at 6:30. We are behind public safety and licenses. And as long as we are doing virtual, we will have to wait. If their meeting runs longer than 6:30, we will have to wait until they're finished before we can start ours.
Molly, they don't meet. They haven't met. So do we know when they're scheduled to meet?
Not at this time.
What about the finance committee? When are they scheduled to meet?
They usually meet on Mondays at 5.
I know, but they met, and so did they determine?
They met yesterday, yes.
It was Monday at 5?
They met yesterday, though, at 5:30.
They scheduled their meetings for Mondays at 5:30.
Okay, they have switched then. They used to schedule 5.
Correct. They changed it to
So
5:30.
they've changed theirs to 5:30. Thank you. So right now, like I said, we are at 6:30 on Tuesday. I actually thought of Wednesday, but then that would press whoever's doing the meeting minutes to get them done and get them to the clerk in time for her to publish the agenda for council on Friday. So right now, we're at 6:30 on Tuesday. Anyone have any other suggestions?
I move for 6:30 on Tuesday.
I'll second that.
It's been moved in second that we keep our Public Works and Public Works Committee on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Excuse me. Motion carries.
Carries, yeah.
We don't have any public for comment. Does the staff have any comments at all? Alder Levy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering how we're going to conduct public hearings for alley replacement. I know that we did that last year towards the end of May and then again in June. I'm wondering if anything has been scheduled, and if so, if it's going to be done virtually, or if we know yet how those are going to be conducted.
I will let Commissioner Rooney answer that.
Madam Chair, thank you. Actually, pretty timely question. We actually met this afternoon with the city clerk's office on holding virtual public hearings for not just alleys, but street improvements as well. So we're going to have to modify a couple things, and we send out notices regarding these types of improvements and, how much, it'll cost per front foot to, replace your street or alley with, certain paving materials. And there's always been instructions that you can come in and, state your objection to the project or your support for it, and then offer public comment as well. So we went through that process of how we're going to hold that virtually. We're going to start those virtual public hearings next month in June. We're going to be getting together as staff on Thursday to kind of rework our FAQ sheet that's going to go out. We're developing that protocol whereby we will most likely be requiring residents, if they would like to be heard at the public hearing, to send us their phone number, and we will be calling them during the public hearing. We're working these details out with the clerk's office, and then always give them the opportunity to submit their support or opposition to the project via regular mail or via email. And they can do that leading right up to the public hearing, and as per standard procedure, we hold that open for 10 days following the public hearing. So we've got a pretty good plan in place with Tara and Amber, and we're going to be refining that. We're going to be meeting Thursday to come up with some better details, but we feel we have the mechanism in place to do that. They will be streamed Facebook Live. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes. Yeah, Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. And we'll have an audio version as well, maybe for those who don't know how to use a link to watch something on their computer. They can simply listen to the audio as well. So we are planning on proceeding. We haven't quite got the details finalized, but when we get that, obviously this committee will be the first to know. I would like to think we'll have an update to that process that we can report out to you at our May 26th meeting. So you'll know how that will function. And then we'll be holding our first, I believe, on June 9th, and our second public hearing on June 23rd.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Alder Land had her hand up next.
I lowered it. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, sorry.
Mayor Mason is up next.
Oh, I was just, I think John Rooney filled you all in on the conversation that he had with the clerk's office. So I think that was all I was going to add in terms of context. So I think there's still a way for us to do what we need to do this summer to let people have input on the alleyways moving forward.
Oliver Perez?
Yeah, Commissioner, are we still scheduled this year to do road work on Highway 20 and Kinsey and 6th Street on the bridge there?
On which roads are those?
I'm thinking from last year, we were scheduled to do road work on Highway 20. And we were also scheduled to do work on the bridge that goes from Kinsey to 6th Street. Is that this year scheduled yet for this year?
Highway 20, there's going to be some utility work that'll probably be starting later this summer into fall. The DOT will be paving Highway 20 from just east of West Boulevard, just east of the West Racine Business District, all the way up to our city limits, which are near Roosevelt, Sycamore, out in that area. So that's a paving project for next year. You'll probably see some utility work this summer and this fall. And then insofar as the bridge project goes, that is being advertised this fall, will be let, and then I believe they will start demolishing the bridge in the winter, January, February, which is a great time of year while the river is frozen to remove the structure. And then that'll be a project that'll last pretty much the entirety of 2020, 2021, and then into 2022.
Do we have a
schedule? It could get pushed out. It's all based on WISDOT's funding situation. They could move the project out, and we could be doing this in 2022. I think that is the most recent schedule I've seen, but it's pretty fluid and it changes. The only one I know for certain is Highway 20 will be reconstructed in 2021.
When do you think the initial work is going to start on Highway 20 that'll prevent people from going back and forth from the city limits to West End?
Well, as far as the road project with the DOT, we'll always keep the road open to traffic. That's how we have that thing staged. Similarly to what you see on Highway 11. The road isn't shut down. People can still use it. We'll maintain business access. So we're going to do that on the Highway 20 project next year. We're not going to be shutting it down. We'll be providing one lane in one direction at all times for business access, and then we'll be detouring the opposing traffic using another corridor.
Yeah, but you said that in this year they're going to start the initial work on the utilities. Is that what you said?
That'll be later this summer or fall, and we haven't seen anything. We have a meeting scheduled there next week to bring all the utility companies in to get their utility plans coordinated so they're not all on top of each other later this summer and fall, and that so we can ensure that there is access made to people on that corridor to get up and down it into the businesses. So we haven't got that detail yet. As we learn more, we'll keep you informed.
Thank you.
Mayor Mason?
Yeah, I just want to remind people, like, we haven't noticed an item for public conversation. We just need to be really careful about the questions that we have. So if people have items that they'd like scheduled for a future meeting, we can do that. And if you have questions for the commissioner on timing of certain projects, you could certainly reach out to him directly. But I mean, I'd certainly defer to the city attorney's take on this, but we go through real pains to make sure we're discussing things that have been publicly noticed. And so if there are questions that we need discussed in the future, we can, but we should just be mindful of that as we're wrapping up the meeting here.
Thank you, Mayor Mason. Alder Levy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to go back a minute to alley replacement as well as work on streets for the 21 year. We had talked several months back about residents who may need to take out a city loan. And we talked about interest rates, that perhaps those city loans could have lower interest rates if the city deemed that it would make sense for us to do that, so that our residents were not having to pay extra money for for those services. So I know I had submitted that a few months back, but I'm wondering if there's been any consideration regarding lowering those interest rates, or if we're going to stay with what we've done previously with those.
Would you care to say that to me?
I was just gonna
Alder
say,
Levy, Attorney Letney has to respond to your question. We're kind of getting in a gray area here.
to the mayor's point, I mean, it was one thing if we were just sort of asking a couple of questions about what's gonna happen. This sounds more like a policy discussion about how the council is gonna deal with certain issues. So perhaps that should be put on a future agenda and addressed that way, rather than having this conversation right now.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Perez, your hand was up.
It was, but it's been addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing our agenda has been exhausted, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. I was thinking that because normally if it's not on the agenda, you're not supposed to be discussing it, and I was like,
Yeah.
didn't know they were gonna go there.
Yeah.
So. There's your little